I want to make a video to show off a project that I've been working on. This is the Chinese storybook reader and also API. You'll see in a minute. It's meant for younger learners of Chinese to learn how to read the characters. And you can see there's tons of options, but it's still very much a work in progress, definitely. I have 2 story discs here, each one with a story. Eventually there'll be more. If we go in one, we can check it out. So this is what a story looks like. It has a cover, has page numbers, and as you're reading, you could read. And when you get stuck on a word, then you can get some help. So like if you put your mouse over it on hover, you get a little tooltip that has the pronunciation and the meaning. You can also click on it too, and that brings up more information. So all this information is being pulled from the back end. So like this is ke pa, when this is the pronunciation, ke and pa, and it has the definition scary, and it's made of these components. And the components is not something that you'll find in most dictionaries, but it's something I really wanted to include, because when I was learning Chinese, being able to break down the characters into their component characters was a way that really helped me to learn. I just thought it was a really cool way to think about them. It's like this is ke, and you can see it's made from ding and kou, and you put them together and you get ke. So that's really cool. There's also a place for a picture, which doesn't exist yet because there are so many characters and so little time. So there's some cooler things too. If we look at, where is it going here? 起来. This means to get up. And if you look at the component tree here, you can notice some of the cool relationships. It's kind of an aside, but like you see, 起 is made from 走 and 一. And these actually rhyme too. That's very common. So 起 has 一 in it, and they rhyme. So I thought this is a really cool way to learn the relationship between the characters. And they also have different definitions. Like this one has a couple of different definitions. And the system knows what the definition is for this particular instance of the word. And that takes a little more work to do. But I also thought it was important because some of the words can be very ambiguous. So this is kind of meant for early learners, so that's the kind of information that would be really helpful for them. There's also different options too, like usually Chinese doesn't have any spacing at all. You see here that like this is the normal way you read Chinese, but spacing is also helpful too. So the system can add that or not. You can also add the pinyin directly as a row. We can choose to show the tooltips or not. If we turn off tooltips, it no longer shows there. And we can also make them not clickable. And if we turn off everything, this is kind of like hardcore mode, right? It's like if you're normally reading a text, this is what it looks like. But there's a lot of supports here that I think are useful for learners. All right, let's look at what it looks like from the back end. So the kind of like back end of this is the story creator. And eventually I'd like to open this up so anyone can create their own story. But right now it's very much still a work in progress. Very basic and pretty ugly, but it will work for now. You can load up a story. So here's the one from before. By the way, this is 画可怕的东西. It's like paint scary things. It's kind of a silly story, but also fun too. So she's painting stuff. And these words are all tokenized already, which means that they already have a corresponding, they're already matched with a corresponding word in the database. So like Ma Li, the name of the person, she's already matched with the word. And this hua, to paint, it's already been matched. So we've already chosen that it is this verb, not the noun, a painting. And if that's not enough, we can also create our own word too. So the word might not be in the database already. We can just create it. Or we can even edit it. So all the details are already here. Here's hua, and it knows the traditional, and I'll show you why later. But it has a pinyin, and a modified pinyin, description, frequency, and so on and so on. So we can make changes as well. We can create our own story too. I can create one, and I will call it Hello World. How about that? 你好，世界! Exclamation point. The author is going to be 我. And the illustrator will also be me too. We can make it really poetic here. How about, where is the world? There we go. 世界在哪里? 我在那里. Wait, that's not the one I want. I want this one here. Okay, not, it doesn't make any sense. Sorry. Where is the world? I am there. Not the greatest poem ever, but whatever. So we can generate the tokens from this. I had to add the spacings because I have no way to tokenize it right now, but we can select it from the database. So like this is 世界, and so that only has one, so we just select it. I didn't have it auto select because you might want to create your own word, but so that's that. 在 it could be now or at, so this one is at, and this is the where version. Me at 那里, there, and it's done. We can add some nifty pictures too. How about this cool? No, this one's really cool. And space pictures are definitely awesome. How about this one too? And then we can create our story. Submit. Hopefully that worked. There should be some feedback. Still working on it. But when we refresh, we can see that it is in fact created. So it's got sent to the database, and we have our thing here. So if we go back to our story reader, 你好世界. Hello world has been created. And because we selected the words, it's matched with the word in the database. We get all the supports, like 我, 哪里, and everything. So it knows what the definition is. It has the component tree, all the systems that could help the learner. So this is kind of built from a backend that models the Chinese language. So I wanted to show that here. This is kind of a UML model of what is happening. So the backend, where all this information is located, I kind of built for maximum flexibility. And that was because if we're pulling information a lot, we can always cache it. But if we want to change things, I really want it to be flexible. So it's built from 4 different entities. The characters, which represents like a physical character. And so its primary key is just itself. It's like a character as you would write it. So it knows if it's simplified or if it's traditional. And it also has components too. So for example, a character might be like this one here. And I cannot write because I need to select. All right. And a character could be like this. This is a character for bright. It features 2 different parts to it. So it has this part and it has this part. This is Ming, and it's made up of these 2 parts. And the important thing is that the components of this character are themselves characters. So this is a self-referencing entity. In Chinese, it's often known as radicals, but radicals can also be characters too. So it didn't make sense to make a separate entity. So there is that. And of course, component of, so like this, its component of would be this one here. So that's the reverse relationship. Characters are used in different words. They might have variations, different ways to write it. And if they do, then they would have a base character too. And they also have a pinyin. So the pinyin is just this logical pairing of a syllable and a tone pair. Like, for example, if I write the word for me, that would be 我. And that 我 could be, well, it should be 3rd tone for me. But there's also another word like 我, maybe with 4th tone, 我. So that has 1 tone number, 1 syllable, and that's a unique pairing. So we can just use that as a primary key. Now we're not usually going to use the character itself. Usually we're going to access that through the ideographs. So an ideograph is a logical pairing of a simplified character and a traditional character. So they're not a one-to-one correspondence. Usually, one simplified character will map to different traditional characters. That's why it's simplified, because they combine different characters. Oops. So that pairing is going to be really useful, because if we build our systems on that kind of pairing, we'll always be able to change from simplified to traditional scripts just by clicking a button. So that has a description of what it actually means, because this would be 2 ideographs here, one for this pairing and one for this pairing here. But oftentimes they have 2 different meanings. So the simplified character represents 2 different ideas, whereas those ideas are split in the traditional one because of that frequency. And then the word that the front end is going to interact with the most will be the word. The word kind of brings everything together. its primary key is just this generated integer ID, the one you saw earlier. It's made up of a series of ideographs from one or more. So a word could just be a character, but it contains a lot of other information too. But usually it's more than one character. It has pinyin pronunciation, could have a picture eventually, description, meaning. There's also synonyms and antonyms. And here I had to be a little bit careful because it's not just self-referencing, but it's also cyclic, right? Like word 1 is a synonym of word 2, and word 2 can also be a synonym of word 1. We can get by that though, by a careful control of serialization as well as lazy loading. So we're not loading up this cycle from the database. So what does it look like on the back end? Let me pull from here and here. Okay, so there is a API interface that I made. So this is not exactly how the front end pulls its information, but it's close. So here's the character is API/char/the character, and that is E right now. That means 1. So it's E. It is simplified. It is traditional. It is part of all these words. It's quite a lot for this basic character. It has no variants, no base character, no components, so on. We can check out a more interesting one with like dal. Make it pretty print. So dal is simplified and traditional, has different pronunciations, part of these words. But what's really cool about it is it's you can see that recursive data structure in the API. And I know that most APIs are not built that way, where you have this kind of like this tree-like structure. But I thought it made sense, and I really love that aspect of the Chinese language, where components are built of other components, or characters are built from other characters. So for example, this dal, which looks like this, you can kind of memorize what it looks like, is made from ren on one side, and the other side is made from dal. It has a different word, same pronunciation. But this can also be broken up into characters itself. So it itself has a tree of components, and that it consists of this right side, which is dal, and the left side, which is zhi. Now dal is just dal, it's not made up of anything, but zhi has its own components, which includes tu and nothing else. So a very recursive, you see, many different levels. So it's a little more difficult to deal with on the front end side, but it shows the relationships clearly, so I really like that. So if we look at this word here, we can also check out the pinyin. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. Pinyin. I actually want to type in English right now, and we'll select this one here, dal. So this is, if you just search for dal, it can pull that one up. Is it here? It is here. That's the one from before. But dal also matches with a lot of different characters. So it pulls that information from the back end. And if you remember, actually we'll just go back. As a character, this dal was part of these 3 different words. But these 2 are the same. Like, what's up with that? So if we look it up on the word side, then you'll see why. So like, if you look up a character as a word, you'll see one is dao, like to fall over, and that's a verb. But dao also exists as another sense, is like to pour liquid, and that's also a verb as well. But these are, they're 2 different senses. Like if you're learning Chinese, it would be helpful to be able to disambiguate these different meanings. So I built this system around that, so you could do that. And it's also part of a more complex word, daoying, which is actually shadow. Still haven't gotten a description yet. A lot to do. So this has just been a brief overview of this Chinese storybook project that I've been working on. So till next time, bye.